Hello, everyone. I want to start with this article in The Guardian talking about the drone warfare. So, we've been talking about the game of drones for a while now, and this one talks about the smaller, shorter range drones and how they operate and the role they play in the warfare. The two drone attack styles are discussed. And again, you have heard about both. One is using carefully orchestrated, carefully planned single drone or like small group of drones attacks to target Russian military objects. The other one is the swarm. That one is used by Russia more, although Ukraine is using them too. And that involves dozens of them at a time. One of the things that Russia started doing recently is including fake drones alongside the real ones to basically confuse air defense systems and use up the ammo. So, and that has been incredibly challenging for Ukraine's air defenses. So, if you are interested particularly in technology, military technology, we're talking about here, definitely a good article, gives you kind of a good perspective from the ground, because it involves interviews with Ukrainian soldiers who are dealing with this on a daily basis. So give it a read. I'm not sure why this is news. So Russia has been using prisoners as army recruits for a very long time now, for many months. When it became clear that Ukraine is not going to roll over and pant, and that losses for this war are going to be far more than trivial, the Russian government started looking at, well, where else to get soldiers. Just like in Ukraine, they have draft dodgers and so on. But Russia also has a huge prison population, and that's what they have been pumping for troops. MSNBC calls it get out of jail free card. Well, it's not exactly free. You have to go to the front, you have to risk getting killed, and, right now the odds are not great out there for the Russian soldiers. As you have read at this point, right now they're losing up to 1,000 people a day along the entire front. So, but they do take it up. They do take it up, and so we have armies, quite literally, of thieves, murderers, rapists, some of them serial criminals out there, unleashed against Ukrainian civilians. Now, Russians have been warned about this. That if the war continues, some of these guys are going to survive. And they're going to get home. And they're going to get bored. And they're going to go back to what they were doing before they went to war. Namely, stealing, killing, raping, and so on and so forth. And that is exactly what's happening, because we're starting to see more and more stories from the local news sources talking precisely about this. And here's the thing, not only that, to add insult to injury, when Russian citizens report, for example, a criminal who came back from the war and committed another crime, he usually gets away with it scot-free because he's a hero. So there are virtually no consequences. Or if the crime is so serious it warrants another prison term, he just signs up for another time in the army and gets right back out. Who did not see this coming? Now, there's the continued speculation where this is all going to go with Trump. I think this particular thing, that he's strong and unpredictable, is stupid. Sorry. I just do. He's neither of those things. He's a weak little crybaby man-child. And yeah, the unpredictable thing is true, but that doesn't make it good. He's a loose cannon. So I'm not sure I understand why Zelensky is trying to sidle up to Trump. Is it that he just understands that unless you praise Trump constantly, you're not going to be friends with him? I don't know. But again, I think that Trump's quote-unquote leadership style is going to do something here. I'm not... No. Just no. There are two interviews. One is on Kyiv Post, so that's a Ukrainian source, with Ambassador Gilmore, who is a Trump-era ambassador, talking about, how it all will end, and he's convinced that Russia is losing the war. He does insist that the West needs to continue supporting Ukraine, and that includes both EU and the US, that a loss for Ukraine, a defeat for Ukraine in this war, is going to have global consequences. So we at least agree on that. But again, while he points out all of the important things as to why Ukraine should be supported, he does not go as far as suggesting what exactly should be done about this. On NPR, there is another interview with another former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. And again, the same questions are being asked. What is your stance? What do you think can be done? What are the options? In the interview, McFaul goes over the options that are out there, but he does point out, quite rightly, the disadvantages. For example, he talks about the risks associated with letting Russia keep some of the Ukraine territory that it had already invaded. He points out, interestingly, the differences between this suggestion and the formation of East Berlin. If anybody remembers this, if you don't remember, go look it up. So what he points out is that while East Berlin was formed under the pressure from the Soviet Union, it was still its own state. It still had its own government. Yes, it was heavily influenced, but people still spoke their own language. Children still went to German-speaking schools, and so on and so forth. He's concerned that in the occupied Ukrainian territories, there will be no such thing. They will eradicate Ukrainian language. They will close Ukrainian schools, Ukrainian papers, Ukrainian theaters, Ukrainian everything. Big difference. And mistreat people of non-Russian descent. They do talk about NATO membership, and again, he brings up some very good points why that is important, and while it's completely understandable why Ukraine wants that, whether Ukraine is going to get it is a whole other question. And once again, he is trying to point out why this is important globally, why it's important for Ukrainian war to stay on the radar screen outside of Ukraine, how it pertains to people of Europe and to the people of the United States. Again, give it a read, give it a listen.